Now, here we are, folks. Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. It's been many years. I don't know how long it's been since I taught through the book of Proverbs. Every now and then, God has to kickstart us and get us going over again. But the book of Proverbs is the setting for us to use to get into God's Word, to realize what God is trying to say to us. He wants us to know, and He wants us to have inside of our heart, inside of our spiritual being, the ability to live for Him. And the only way, there's only one way that can be done. Well, the first thing is you must get saved. And then you must actually act upon this salvation. Now, Proverbs is a book of wisdom. The very man that wrote the bulk of it in his end days, declined from reading his own work, from studying his own work, from remembering his own work. Remember what God gave him in his youth that he could use in his old age. We have to be careful that we don't lay wisdom down and become ignorant to it. Now, this week, or last week, I don't know, sometime in the past, I came across some work of a man did in an outline of Proverbs. Now, nothing, very few. I don't know how many of you could look back in your life and say what was original. That God gave you, exactly gave it to you without the help of another man. Very few people get anything in their life without the help of another man. I listen to a few preachers that I believe God gives insight in some things, but they're very few and very far apart. This particular dedication is a dedication to a father. And this father's name was Pastor Jim Stubb, S-T-A-U-B, Stubb, and who taught me these Proverbs. This is a son writing this introduction. And he's wrote it to his dad. Now, one thing I've learned, listen to Brother Peter. Let's give credit where credit is due. Do not take somebody else's credit for yourself. Now, I'm going to ask the Lord, I'm going to pray right now, and I'm going to say, Lord Jesus, would you take this reading of this work, of this teaching of this work on PH Tidbits, and put it on this man's credit. If he's in heaven, we're going to ask the Lord to put another window in his mansion. If he's in heaven, we're going to ask God to show him his work carrying on this earth. Because this is his work. Carrying on this earth. Now, this boy, his father taught him the book of Proverbs. His admonition was, read one proverb a day to correspond with the day of the month. That's day 1, read Proverbs chapter 1. He not only read them, but believed them. I will be grateful forever for my dad who instilled these proverbs in me by the grace of God. And this is his son wrote this and to his dad. He said, after studying these proverbs, I have become convinced that these are God's practical lessons for everyday living. Everyday problems of life has an answer in the words of God. If we fail in our daily Christian walk, it is because we have not heeded these Proverbs. Wow. You can't heed them if you don't know them. Now, I had a practice in my life one time of reading a proverb a day. I have the proof that I read the whole book of Proverbs and the help notes that went with it, because they're underlined and they're marked, and I've got them marked up and noted, and have done it. I have done my work at one time. When, Brother Peter? I don't remember when it was. And because I don't remember when it was means I'm failing. You know what I'm failing to do? To do what I started doing years ago, and what I taught, by the way. Perhaps you could go back 4 or 5 years in PH Tidbits and find out where I taught the book of Proverbs. But I have let it go. I have failed in my life to read a proverb a day every day. Why have I failed? Because I haven't took the time to do it. Because what is it? What is it, a 15, 20-minute thing maximum? Just to sit and read a proverb and take it in? So, I failed. I'm going to work on that. Solomon was the wisest man that ever lived, according to 1 Kings 4, 29 and 32. He must have written these proverbs in the early middle part of his life. He also wrote the Song of Solomon and Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes must have been written in the latter part of his life. This assumption is made because of the attitude of the promises made in Proverbs compared to the negative attitude of Ecclesiastes. Just think, Proverbs is positive. This is positive. And I don't know if my clock is working. It is. So I'm supposed to be on. I'm hoping that I'm come on here and I'm doing what I'm doing, this introduction. Now, what I need to do is see what the deal is. Okay. The absolute. Okay. Assumption that he made because of the attitude and the promises. All right. We hold to the absolute authority of the authorized King James Version. We. Anybody that studies behind Brother Peter, before Brother Peter, or that Brother Peter studies, we study the King James Version. Have I looked and listened to other versions? Yes, I have. Do I feel like they are in error? Yes, I do. My heart strikes me bad when I read some of the word changes and some of the words that have been omitted in other translations. Now, the King James is the Bible. Other than the King James, there is no Bible. The Bible is, the King James Version was stamped by God for the United States of America. When the Gutenberg press was made, the very first press that was made, the very first book to come off it was the Bible. The Bible was printed on that. These proverbs are written for today as well as 3,000 years ago. See Proverbs 30, 5 and 6. It is very sad that even though God gave Solomon the wisdom to write these proverbs, Solomon did not heed. He fell under the condemnation of the prophecy of the very proverbs he wrote, even though he was wise and wealthy and a king, giving us a sure thing to look at. Let's be careful lest we fall from that which we teach, or that which we preach, or that which we every day live a life outside of the Bible, outside of the house, outside in the world. Let's be sure we pass it on. We will be doomed to failure if we don't heed them, just like Solomon. Have you read the Proverbs today? Question, Brother Peter, have you read your proverb today? No, I haven't, not yet. But I'm going to. And this is my day one to get started. Are you a doer of the word like James 1 and 22? Are you a doer or the doer? Introduction. In Proverbs 1 through 33, we find Solomon identifies himself as the writer. He writes these proverbs, or piety, sayings, to teach his son. He uses comparisons, compares many things one to the other, which means they are contrast. He contrasts that good and evil is contrasted here. And he uses catchy words. And these words are groupings. And to get his son's attention and to learn wisdom. This may have been Rehoboam, 1 Kings 12, 1 through 24. Note these highlights. The findings of wisdom in counsel. There is much wisdom in much counsel. You can sit at counsel and have 8 men, we'll say. 7 men would be a rounded more figure. And those 7 men put forth things into the council. And then you pick through those 7 men's ideas and come up with 1 page of counsel that's fitting. And this wisdom that God gave this man. Now note these highlights. The finding of wisdom and counsel, verse 1 through 6. In 7 areas. That is to know wisdom, area 1st. And instruction, area 2. To perceive, area 3. Words of understanding. To receive, area 4. The instruction of wisdom. To give subtlety to the simple. That's some substance to the simple. In other words, give a simple man a discretion. Discretion, that is a thing today. Very, very seldom used by people of today. Discretion is not used today much. Instead of somebody thinking about what they're doing, bam, they just go ahead and don't do anything. They just go ahead and do it. So, to the young man, knowledge. Now, we were in that is knowledge. And the 7th thing is discretion. That's the ability to judge what is correct and what is proper in the situation you're in. I have heard this saying in years gone by, situational ethics. In other words, what is ethical in the particular situation you are in. I'm a paint contractor by trade. I'm working on a job. On this job, there are many, many, many rooms. And in these rooms, they're occupied for a period of time by different peoples. The ladies that clean these rooms have been told by their commanding officer to, if any coin money or any money at all is found, to place it in a certain place on a desk. You do not put it in your pocket. Now, as a paint contractor through the years, as I've gone into a man's house or a woman's house or a person's house or any building and done any painting, if I moved the desk and there were 7 quarters on the floor behind the desk, I picked those 7 quarters out, put them on the desk. They're not my quarters. That's discretion. Whose quarters are they? They're the man that owns the desk, or the man that's working at the desk. Well, you say, hey, Brother Peter, this is an old office now, and they're changing up, and this man's not going to be here anymore. There's going to be a new man. That didn't change the fact that the quarters aren't yours. They belong to the man. It's another person's property. Now that's discretion. That's figuring out the correct thing to do. Now these ladies, not all are Christian, but they're all under a mandate. The mandate says put all the coins from a penny to whatever comes up on that desk, and do not take any with you. So these ladies clean. They put the money on there. My crew comes in. I come in. And my crew comes in. And as that crew comes in, I don't have to tell my man, nobody has to tell the men, that's not your money. Those ladies couldn't take it. The money belonged to the person in that room. Now at the final end, if nobody has claimed that money, that woman that's over the job can put that money in a jar and then use it for the whole crew or whatever. But until the last claim is not made, the money's not free, and you're not free to take it. Now, all, A-L-L, all of life is the same way. If it's not yours, it's not yours. A sheet of paper. Go into a man's office, you need a sheet of paper. You need to get permission. Say, that man bought that sheet of paper. You say you only paid a half a cent for it. Well, how much more than a half a cent do you have to take without permission and not be stealing? If you steal a half a cent every day, 365 days a year, you stole half of what 365 is. And you say, well, it doesn't sound like much. We'll do it 10 years. That's not the point. The one time is the theft. It without permission. Get permission. Get permission. Get permission. Why do you get permission? Why would I want to get permission to get a sheet of paper from a man's office? Because it's honesty. It's just honest. It's just getting permission to do it. This man's not going to be too happy. He finds out that I've been coming in his office every day and getting a piece of paper. He wouldn't mind a bit if I asked him. Wouldn't mind a bit if I asked him. Or if I left a note on his desk. Hey, Brother Peter got a sheet of paper today out from your desk. If he's writing a book and he's got these papers laid out and he's got 34 pieces of paper out there, which is 68 pages in his little book, and he's got it designated for that, and he sticks those in his machine, not knowing, unaware that you had come in and scooped one of them sheets off, he's going to be a page short in his book and have to rework everything just to get that page right. You see how simple a thing it was for you, how big a thing it became for him. So let's remember that when we convenience ourselves, we can very much inconvenience another person. So let's be very careful. All right, let's get back in it to young men. A young man, knowledge and discretion, the ability to judge things. Wisdom is the righteous thing of two things. Using non-wisdom, you will do the opposite most of the time of righteous. If you use wisdom, you'll do the righteous thing. We have got to start being concerned and paying attention to our own conduct. Our own conduct can be terribly bad if we don't watch it. A wise man will hear. And not only will he hear, He will increase. And how does he increase? By listening to wise counsel. That's how you increase, by listening to wise counsel. If you don't listen to wise counsel, you're going to be, and you're going to need some reprimand somewhere down the road in your life to turn you around. Okay, number 2 in this excerpt, the fear of the Lord. Considering verses 7 through 9 in 1. He said in the A part, don't consent. All right, don't consent to that thing. Listen, look at verse 1. Look at verse 1 here. Verse 1, the proverb of Solomon, the son of the king of Israel, to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive instruction and wisdom, justice and judgment and equity, to give us ability, simple, and the young man knowledge and discretion. A wise man will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsel. Excuse me. To understand a proverb and interpretation of the words of the wise, and hear the dark sayings. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom. Don't consent to foolish things. Don't listen when they say. Anybody says, come, find out what they're talking about. Find out what they're talking about. And don't heed, don't come if it's not the time to come. Okay, all right. Don't listen. Somebody says, hey, you want to hear something? No, I don't. No, I do not. Do you want to hear something? No, I do not. No. Please do not tell me something I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear anything. That's not, I don't know. Let's have some fun. No. Don't cast in with them. It says in that proverb, don't cast in with those people. It will be a regret. It'll be a regret of many things. It can be a regret of money. It can be a regret of your character. It can knock your character down. Do not let somebody bug your ear with something that's none of your business. And don't come and pass on anything anybody did bug you with. Kill it. Right there. Kill it. Whoa. As we study, we're going to come to the place where it talks about the tongue that tattles, that tells these things. All right, let's look at the future folly and the calamity of verses 20 through 33. There will be calamity and folly. Why? For you refuse to listen and heed. Now you can listen and not heed. But if you refuse to do the both, first thing is you got to not refuse to listen. Second thing you got to do is heed. You did not heed all the counsel. If you don't heed all of the counsel, you can be in trouble. You will be laughed at by those of wisdom and the Lord and Solomon. You will be mocked. See Galatians 6 and 7. You will be desolate in fear. You will face sudden destruction. You will call, but it will be too late. He's talking about if you do not listen to these proverbs. This is what will happen to you. You will eat of the fruit that you have sown. You will be slain and destroyed. You will not dwell safely. These are things if you do not heed the instruction and the wisdom of God. Now that was the introduction of chapter 1 and through verses I can't get myself back in here, and 1 through 6 I believe. And so I'm going to take, it's 25 minutes. I'm going to read the second part, that I just read the first part of. All right, the second part is, I read the first 6 verses. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Verse 7. But fools despise wisdom. My son, hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law of thy mother. For they shall be ornament of grace, and wisdom crieth out. She uttereth her voice in the streets. Wisdom has been called she almost all through the Bible. You'll find wisdom is a fine, very fine lady. Wisdom. She crieth in the chief places of the concourse, and opening of the gates in the city, and utter her words, saying, How long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorner delight in their scorning, and the fool hate knowledge. Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. Because I have called, and ye refused. I have stretched out my hand, and no man regarded it. But ye have set at naught all my counsels, and would none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. And when your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind. When distresses and anguish cometh upon you, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For that they have hated knowledge, and did not choose the fear of the Lord. They would none of my counsel. They despised my reproof. Therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way, and be filled with their own devices. For the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. But whosoever, listen to this now, be a whosoever. But whosoever hearken unto me shall dwell safely, and shall be quiet from the fear of evil. Woo-wee. Man, do I love that. I love to not have to fear evil. Wow. I do not want to have to fear evil. If I'll stay for the 30 days that we're starting today in one of these Proverbs every day, and I will put it to practice, I will have peace, I will have joy, I will have long suffering, I will have wisdom, I will have correctness, I will have good days. And good days to me, a good day to me is a day when I come home and I understand that the witness that I have left out that day was a witness for God, was over and above the average thing that a normal Christian would do. The only way you can do that is to repurpose it. You've got to purpose it in your heart. You've got to purpose it in your life. You've got to purpose it. And once you purpose it, you can do it. But you've got to purpose it. Just like I'm on this machine right now. It happens to be 3:25 a.m. God woke me up this morning and said, hey, you're not tired anymore. Get up and go sit in front of that machine, punch the button, get your books out, and put in practice what you claim that you're living. Put in practice what you say that you're doing. Put it in practice. If you don't put it in practice, you're a thief and a cheat and a liar. So put it in practice. Well, a lot of time's come and gone, and we will see you next time. And we're proud to be with you today. And this is our first lesson in the book of Proverbs. We'll see you next time. Brother Peter, tidbits from the Word.